This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community. Got the privilege and opportunity to support our heroes in their time of need. Will you join us and take action?
All right. Welcome back. Fit Nation. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by two veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their story to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share some of your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you're a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and share how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you're a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and just share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or are embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel at @_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date with our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show. All right. Welcome to our Thursday after dinner show. We have a good one tonight, y'all. We have the Army Special Forces veteran with more than 10 years of experience enabling those who act to defend life, family, and country. Knowing firsthand the importance of self-reliance, he has made it his mission to enable and empower others so that they may have healthy and thriving lives as well. So without further ado, let's welcome John Brewer to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, John.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's always great to have a veteran come on with me here. Always have time for my veterans on here, especially when they're doing great things after service, when they're starting their next chapter in life and doing things to help others, still showing that they still have that purpose in life. And it's great to have you here to share your story with us.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to share it.
So, John, I gave basically a 2-sentence blurb about you there. I know there's a lot more about John that's out there. If you want to go back as far as you want to go to maybe why you joined service and then what made you decide that this is where you wanted to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, my reason for joining is a little, is not, the normal. It's always been in the back of my mind, but at the same time, it's been something to where, when I went to college, I decided my junior year that I wanted to do something with a little bit more purpose. At the time, my degree was exercise sports science, which actually I finished it out. But what I ended up doing is at that point in time, I don't know exactly what got me into it, but I started becoming aware of human trafficking and child exploitation and things of that nature. And actually, that's what got me into the military, as oddly as it sounds, not because that's what the military deals with, but I thought that was my opportunity to gain experience to then put on my resume and then be able to be hired by a federal agency somewhere that actually performs those types of, that goes after those types of people. And what ended up happening is, funny enough, I didn't know about the Green Berets when I was younger. And I did a podcast with Clint Emerson, and he kind of laughed about that because he was like, "You never watched Rambo?" And at the time, I think I've seen pieces of it. It's just, I know it's a classic, but it's just something that I never had watched before. And obviously, I knew he had something to do with the military, but I didn't know until later on that it was the Green Beret type stuff. And so that's why, my story is a little unconventional when it comes to how I joined, but that's kind of the background on how that happened. And I talked to a recruiter. He told me about it. It sounded like a good fit. So I decided to talk to a recruiter, got an 18 X-ray contract, and then, it took off from there. And, at that point in time, I say this all kind of fell into place, just a matter of factly, but at the same time, once I did have it decided that I was going to go and try out for special forces, that was my purpose. And I took it very, very seriously. And so once that happened, I went to selection, got selected, and all through the Q course, my motivation is that I did not want to be put in regular Army unit, not because I don't think they do good stuff. It's just because I knew my personality wouldn't fit. I'm not very good with authority, which is very ironic, being in the military, and not saying that I didn't have to deal with that in special forces, but it's a little bit, different mindset when it comes to things of that nature. And so once I did graduate from the Q course, I did 3 years at 5th Group, where I deployed to Syria twice, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I actually, I love being on the team. I loved actually deploying to Syria. I like the Middle East. It's very, especially where we were, it was, it was very, it was a rural community. So it was very enjoyable to enjoy just the quiet nights when you could and things like that. And then during the deployment, I realized that I wanted to reclass, because at the time I was a Bravo, which is the weapons sergeant, and I wanted to reclass to a medic because I realized that medics, they're such a huge asset to the team. And then also they get put on every single mission. So I wanted to, instead of fighting for a spot on missions, I wanted to actually just be placed there. So I decided to reclass. I went back to Bragg, which is now Fort Liberty. And so I reclassed there, ended up meeting my now wife, then girlfriend, and knew that right then and there, if I wanted to really have a solid family life, that it might be time for me to get out. And also it's because she had a very good job. She's actually a 15 with the Bureau. At the time, she was like 11. So I knew that she didn't want to come back to Nashville, which the Bureau doesn't have a field office in Nashville. But, it was just, I knew at that time, like there was definitely like a fork in the road, and I needed to make a decision. So I made my decision. But I knew, and then also going back to what I was saying in the beginning, my whole reason for going into the military was to gain that experience, and I had gained it. And so I thought now was a good time to really branch off and try to go back to what I wanted to do before. And so that's kind of been that experience too, because obviously federal agencies, although um, I'm not saying that it was hard for me as a personally, but it's just hard in general, right? It's a long process, a lot of stuff going on. I just I'm recently at the back end of one particular hiring process, but at the same time, throughout that whole process, because I've been out of active duty now for 3 years, I had to start working on other stuff. I had to realize that, hey, I can't just sit on my thumbs and wait around for someone to give me a job. Like I have to do something. So I decided to, and then, when it comes to child exploitation, things of that nature, that's really a lot of it's handled by law enforcement. Well, most of all of it's handled by law enforcement, and then obviously there's nonprofits that kind of support that mission, and but those nonprofits are, they're looking for very specific skill sets, which is mostly analytical work, and that's not truly my background. So I had a hard time really, getting in that community. So I decided, I was going to make my own way. So that was through this book, and although it doesn't pertain specifically to child exploitation, it does help families protect their children in a variety of different ways, and then also it helps adults to really get a grasp of their life and be able to protect themselves and live the life that they want through self-defense principles and transferable skills that they learn in self-defense type of training that then can be used in other avenues in their life. And that truly became, that's how everything kind of morphed together. And that was from my experience with special forces and just my mentality when it comes to life in general, being self-reliant and not relying on other people to really, support your life. Because like I said, waiting around trying to get a job in the federal government is a hard thing to do. And I realized if I wanted to do something, I needed to do it for myself. And so that's why the book itself became a self-help book rather than just strictly a self-defense book, because I know how important it is to be self-reliant. And so that's how I got to this point. And thankfully it's been a good journey. I've learned a lot. And then just recently the book went live, and it went live on Monday. And so now it's the real work of getting the book out there and letting people know about it. And so it doesn't go to waste for the information and my perspective. Because like I said, I tell people all the time, it's just my perspective on things. It's not, the right or wrong way to do it. It's just the way that I've learned it, and then the way that I've kind of manifested in my head. And this is just my model and my solution to the problem.
That's a great approach to it as well. And I did the same thing when I wrote my first book. And I knew that if I just reach one person and teach them, it's a success. And
Oh yeah.
getting it out there, the work wasn't that. I didn't think it was that hard to write it. It was because it took a year to come up with all the ideas, and then a year to get it out. So it wasn't that hard. But getting it out there, and then like you said, the second part is the harder part: getting people to actually get it without just friends and family. Getting people outside of your circle to actually go out and get it. And like with yours going live this week, congratulations on that. That's an awesome feat in itself. And the book is called "Fight for Your Best Life." Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. It's everywhere, or is it just Amazon, or did you go to like Ingram Spark or something like that?
It's right now it's just Amazon. I've set up my Ingram Spark account, and because really truly I want it in libraries, just because I know there's a population that may not search on Amazon for books, and maybe they especially in the more poor income communities, to where they have the library right there and they might go there for their reading material. And I definitely, because part of it is I wrote this book thinking about different victims of whatever crime. And one of those crimes was domestic violence and things of that nature. And so I really wanted to make sure that I could get into the libraries so that those who were looking for a solution, if they were being abused in a domestic violence situation, they could go to their local library if that's all they had. And so I am in that process. It's obviously it's not there yet, but that's the goal.
And definitely, you got to probably see a lot of that in Syria, the results of domestic violence in Syria, just by the culture itself. It's what we perceive as domestic violence. It's what they believe is right and their way of life. And it's hard for an American when they go there to kind of hold back and not go a little over the top when they see the man do something to a woman over there or to a child. Because we gotta have to understand their culture, but here it's definitely not acceptable. In most Western countries, it's not acceptable. And you being able to teach them to self-defense training, to become self-reliant, that will help a lot of people in the interim to get better at this.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to write the book?
The actual writing probably took 6 months. But I did, because really, truly, it's because at the time I was doing my MBA, and then so that got me back into writing, which was good because I've been out of practice for a long time, and so I learned that truly I just got to get something because I'm not a perfectionist. Uh, I tell people I'm like a lazy perfectionist because I'll be very like I'll be very, like a perfectionist up to a certain point when I get like tired and I'm just like, you know what, I'm just submitting this paper. My professor can give me whatever grade he wants to give me. And what I notice is that if I just put something down on paper without trying to make it perfect and have that outline and then that rough draft and then just going through the steps of the writing process and not trying to have a perfect final draft in the very beginning, everything falls into place a lot easier. And so that's why when I first started, I put everything on a whiteboard and I took pictures of it. So all my notes and everything was on a whiteboard and I took pictures. And then from there, I was just making an outline on the on Word, and then from there, I just filled in everything. And thankfully, I was able to do like 3 rounds of developmental editing. So I got 3 different perspective on like kind of what to add and maybe what to change the tone in a certain time, because I definitely wanted to put a little bit of humor in there at the right spot and then be very serious in the right spots, because it's a book, it should be entertaining, but at the same time, it's a very serious subject matter, and so I wanted that balance. And so but yeah, I think it was 6 months total with the writing portion. And obviously, once it came to like back and forth editing, that takes a little bit of time too, because that's when you're really like trying to think whether or not that's the best decision to go one way or the other. And then you really get in your head about, what sounds right. And so you just kind of like got to make your decision and move on. And so I'd say that's probably what held up the book for the longest time there. And then yes, just also, I actually did buy into they're called selfpublishing.com, and they have a course where you go through and you kind of learn it's a self-paced course. You kind of learn how to write and then also how to market, and then they also have coaches and done for you services and things like that. So I've had help, and it's been great having that help. I mean, I had to pay for it, so it's not like it was free, but at the same time, having that kind of accountability and that training that goes along with it, because uh, a lot of people have a lot of good ideas, but it's about presenting it in a way that's definitely going to be easily digestible and also entertaining. Like I said, books should be entertaining to a certain extent. That's their they're informative, but then they also do have to have the entertaining factor. That's just the way humans are. They need to be entertained. So yeah, it's definitely it's been a process, but it's thankfully I'm here not at the finish line. I'm at the next step, but it's closer.
You cross one piece of tape, you go into the next now. The
Oh yeah,
watch
yeah.
speeds a little bit. You still got a long way to go, but you're doing
Oh
it.
yeah.
As long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep that positive mindset that you have right now, it'll come to fruition. All the things that you want this to accomplish will come out, and then your next one will come out right after that, probably.
Yeah.
Well, did you have parts of the book that you didn't put into the book that maybe you released as either a blog or maybe a newsletter along the way?
Yeah, I did actually. I really wanted to have a verbal resolution chapter. When you talk about de-escalation and things like that, and really, because I had listened to "Never Split the Difference" by the Chris Voss. He used to be an FBI negotiator, and that really got me. And that's more towards. I mean, that's for any aspect of life, but now I think his business model is more towards business negotiations. But I really wanted to have a chapter in there about, just, being able to de-escalate any situation verbally or whatever means without, going physical. But, I didn't think I had truly the expertise. I have a method, but at the same time, I wanted to have the best practices to be able to put in the book And so I had to take that I did have that chapter in, I took it out. And what I really would like to do is build, because how I think about the book is it's a foundation. It's just the bare fundamentals of if you don't have any background in self-defense training or anything like that, this gives you a good foundation to kind of build off upon, because obviously special forces were very big in the fundamentals, and which the military is in general, but like, we know that, there's a process to learning and education, and you have to start at the foundation, because if you miss some of that, then you're going to be kind of losing some of the stuff as you progress. And so, yeah, when it comes to the business model, I definitely am going to try to bring more people to the table. I definitely want to start a blog. I might even try to start a podcast, just for like people come on with a quick perspective of their background, and maybe a quick methodology of how they deal with whatever aspect of self-defense. It could be a variety of things and a variety of different situations, but definitely, like, the book is meant to be the foundation, and I'm just trying to build upon that with different people and what they bring to the table.
So when you decided to use self-defense and military mindset of it, did you think that there'd be any pushback from those non-military people that might read the book first and say, oh, this is crazy, it's just military, or maybe it's easy for them to understand and be able to jump into it?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I loved my job, and I respect everything the military does, but I definitely, while I was in the military, I tried not to have that become my identity. And even now, like in the book, I present military principles, but I knew that, one, the military and war is a lot different than self-defense and civilian life. And so I wanted to make sure that even though these military principles apply, you don't have to have that militaristic mindset of, or stereotypical military mindset of like aggressiveness and, offense and things of that nature, because, that it's all about time and place, right? And I do actually, I mean, in the right time and place, I am all for aggression and getting stuff done, even here in the United States, because if you're put in that situation and you have no way out, then you're going to have to use some type of aggressive strategies to get your way out of there, whatever that may look like. But at the same time, I knew that, this book isn't really truly, I mean, I definitely market it to military too, because, like I said, it's my perspective. But at the same time, I know a lot of military guys probably already have this foundation, and so they already understand the concepts that I present. But what I did try to do is bridge the gap between military and civilian mindsets, and because I do talk about ambushes and raids, because they are the same type of techniques that happen here in the U.S. I use the example of, in New York, we haven't seen it in a while in the news, I don't think. But, guys were getting punched just randomly. And I consider that an ambush. And then when it comes to a raid, I think of active shooters, school shootings and things like that as raids, because they go into a fixed position, and then they normally, a raid, normally you withdraw. And then in their particular case, normally they commit suicide, or maybe it's suicide by cop. But at the same time, the elements are still there. So I present those in a way that are from a militaristic training, but then I try to bridge the gap to make it fit what happens in the United States. And so really that's really what I was trying to do, is just translate a little bit of stuff to make it make sense for civilians who might not have this background.
And with that being said, do you believe self-defense is for everyone, or is there just a niche for that? Or I believe personally, everyone needs to know self-defense.
Yeah, no, it's self-defense. I mean, it's because my first chapter actually goes over Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that's the second level. I mean, it should be kind of part of the first level, but the first level is to sustain your life, right there and now, and safety and security needs are second on that level. And so that's why I think it's for everybody. That's why I really want to start branding it in a way that it's not just about being put in a bad situation. It's also about these transferable skills that you learn that then help you. If we're talking about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it helps you then achieve the next level in the pyramid, and to where you can reach your purpose or your self-actualization. And that's really how I brand self-defense. It's transferable skills that can be applied to any aspect of life. And truly the great example of that is problem solving, right? So in self-defense, you have life or death problem solving. And if you're able to do that in any other part of your life without the threat of life or death, then you're going to have a better model for it, and you're going to be a lot less stressed, and you're going to be able to make better decisions. So that's why I do think it is for everybody, and that's not just a niche for military or law enforcement or anybody like that.
I'm glad you broke it down like that. And Maslow is the best way to break that down, especially if that helps anyone can understand why they need it at that point. You brought up the New York situation where a lot of big cities that was happening, the punch and runs or whatever they were calling it, TikTok challenge probably. And that caused a lot of chaos and a lot of, I guess, fear in a lot of people. And that's self-defense right there would have stopped a lot of those situations. Just being aware of your surroundings too might help out as well.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned Fifth Group. I currently work right across the street from Fifth Group now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right by the parade field there, just before the parade field. Me and one of the listeners, we actually trained with Fifth Group on September 11th. It was a good time. You talked about the difference between conventional and the group guys, and you can see it every time we train with those guys. It's all business. And then with conventional guys, it's how quick they can get on their phones and do whatever they can do instead of train. Yeah. So you can see the divide there, and the professionalism is always there when we're with the group dudes.
Yeah, which I mean, I know there's good conventional units out there, but because I switched over to the Guard after I got out of active, because I didn't want to quit cold turkey, so to speak. So I came here to Maryland and I was in the Guard, and that's another thing. You think some units in active duty whatever are bad, and then you get to the Guard and it's part-time for them, so they're just like, hey, it is what it is. And that's like that in every organization. I can't really gripe on the military too much because it's like that everywhere. And honestly, it's just human nature that there are going to be some communities or some circles that happens. But yes, when you have a tighter knit community and you're able to really control what happens in there and you're selecting your people based off certain attributes, you do usually have a better outcome when it comes to performance and, just get stuff done usually.
Definitely. If you can give, say, 3 tips without going too deep into what's in the book on getting a better adaptation on self-reliance or self-defense, what would that be?
Yeah. So it's number 1 is know yourself. So have that self-awareness of where you're at in life, where you want to be at in life. What are your strengths? What are your limitations? And then just try to align everything with that, because the worst thing you could do in life is have something that doesn't align with it. And then you have this conflict that's always happening. I dedicated section 1 to that topic, which is self-awareness. I would say secondly is to be aware of your surroundings, just plain and simple. That's one of those things that's very simple to do and hard to really practice, because when it comes down to it, we're very distracted as a society now. So, but being aware and then just having that understanding that, things are fine now and it probably will be, and there's only maybe a 1% chance that something might happen. But depending on what that 1% chance is, something could go very, very wrong. And then lastly, I would say, in general, and this is kind of in life and also through this book, is to stay curious and don't ever think that you know everything, because we never do. And there's a quote out there, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but it says, the more I know or learn things, the more I understand that I don't know anything. And I think there's actually a term that goes along with that, but that's true. And that's, when I was younger, I really didn't have that thirst for knowledge that I kind of do now, to where, just whatever, that pertains to your life, or maybe you're just like, you want to learn random facts, whatever it is, just stay curious. And then also question everything. I think that's a part of it. There might be a 4th tip: question everything, right? So if someone tells you something, you don't have to debate them on any level, but at the same time, don't take anything for 100% unless you have the same background knowledge that they do, and for pretty much certainty that they should tell them the truth or understand exactly what they're talking about, because there's a lot of professionals out there that are putting out stuff in every industry, and it's like, hey, that should be questioned a little bit. And I'm not saying that should be complete anarchy and you fight the guy on it. It's just ask them a question. Just say, hey, where did you get that information from? Or, where can I find more information on this so that I can, not fact check it, but just validate it from my own eyes, right? And so that's what I would say the 3 tips would be.
I like that you said you don't have to debate it, but at least get the knowledge that they have or where they got that knowledge from, so that maybe you can either dive deeper in a different way or just have a healthy conversation with that person. Don't just accept everything at face value. Sometimes it could be totally false, especially probably real close to where you are in DC. A lot of things are fluff and false. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of smoke up your butt. So
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
So how can someone get in contact with you, John, if they want to either have you on the show, maybe just chat with you like we are right now, or just pick your brain?
Yeah. So I got my website up. It's mindshieldandSpear.com because that falls under my LLC. Is kind of it's the actual name of it is Mind Shield and Spear Consulting Group. And it's kind of the lead in to what the book provides. So the book, like I said, is that foundation. And then the consulting side of it is just if anybody wants a little bit more, just like mentorship, education, training, stuff like that, they can reach out to me and we'll just talk about, whatever it is, probably following the outline of the book. But at the same time, it'll be just a little bit more tailored solutions or just a little bit of more facilitation. Because I like to tell everybody, I don't want to solve the problem for you. I'll help you along the way, and I'll help you get to that solution. Because that's the thing about self-reliance, right? You don't need to rely on me either for the solution, because I'm definitely not the solution either. You're the solution, and I'm just going to help you get there. So I'd say mindshieldandSpear.com is the best place to find me, because that I have my there's an icon at the bottom for my LinkedIn, and so you can message me straight from LinkedIn. And then the book itself is on Amazon. You just do a normal search, Fight for Your Best Life on Amazon. You'll find the book. And that also connects to Mind Shield and Spear. So it's all kind of connected. But I'll say the website and the book is probably the best way to find me.
Awesome. And the website is going across the bottom of the screen right now for those who are viewing this on YouTube or Facebook right now. And if you listen to this in the future on our podcast apps, it'll be in the notes as well. If you look over his shoulder right now, you can see his book behind him. It's Fight for Your Best Life by John Brewer. So please check it out and support him. And if you have questions of him, reach out and talk to him. John, thanks again for coming on and hanging out with us tonight. This has been a great conversation.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all of our past episodes and get some of that great Misfit Nation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are Misfit Nation.